Hey, it's a sweatpants and a no makeup kind of day, so why don't we make a YouTube video I will ultimately regret making because people will comment on the sweatpants and the lack of makeup. Let's dive right in on how to use a craft cutter to make bag tags. You may not realize it, but you have the ability to make your own bag tags right here. You just have to have the willpower and the amount of caffeine that I intake in a general day to make them yourself. For my tags, I have the metal ones. I use those for a lot of my bags, but sometimes I want something a little more low-key, or I just want something that kind of matches the vibe of the bag a bit more. So for me, I'm gonna use some of my leftover Galaxy vinyl that I had printed a few months ago. I'm running short on it, but they are sending more, which is great. And then I'm gonna put my short form logo on it using heat transfer vinyl, HTV. So, and people might be thinking, well, I don't know if that's gonna work. You know, why would you want to press the vinyl and potentially melt it? Well, not all vinyls are created equally. And the other thing is I do tend to use lower temperatures and faster speeds and just do it multiple times to get it to adhere, as opposed to pressing it at the highest heat, highest pressure for like 20 seconds or more, like I would do for interfacing. You don't want to do that with your vinyl. And I would say, even if you are going to put interfacing on vinyl, you still kind of want to go back a notch on that, but you can actually do it. And as far as longevity goes, it's not going to be as good as a woven tag that you have custom made, nor is it going to be anywhere near as good as a metal tag that had to be completely created by like a mold with steel and burny things. Yeah, so just keep that in mind when you're making bag tags this way, that it's not the most durable solution, but it is a solution. Especially a solution for people who don't want their bag tags on the outside of the bag, which is a whole different conversation. I'm not going in again. That said, if you want to put these on the inside, they're great. So let's get started. So I'm not doing anything fancy here. There are tons of tutorials out there on how to use a craft cutter, so I'm not going to go into detail on that. But all I'm doing is cutting a handful of 1.75 inch wide by 1 inch tall rectangles that are going to be the basis for these little tags. After I've cut out the bases for my tags, I'm going to go ahead and cut out the logo portions. And mind you, you probably could have done this by hand, but I'm lazy, and I also want to show you that I use the Cricut every now and again instead of letting it collect dust like the last one. I did let it collect dust. It was kind of sad. Yeah. And for the best part, now you get to weed for the next hour. I'm only sort of kind of kidding. Yeah. All right, all the weeding is done. Honestly, it didn't take me an hour. I just kind of fuss over it because I hate doing it. So now I have all of the little logos, and I had basically put it into Cricut so I could see if it was gonna fit over these. So by just making a little square, rectangle, basic geometry again. And you're just gonna lay out your little vinyl pieces. And you know, you don't really have to use vinyl, by the way. If you want, you can actually just use regular old canvas fabric if you want, but you'd have to either turn under the edges, glue the edges with fray check, and definitely cut on a bias. It's a little more trouble than it's worth, in my opinion. So I'm gonna grab craft scissors so I don't use my good scissors, and I'm just going to cut these out and trim them down. Like there's no reason for me to have all this plastic. I'm chronically overusing or overestimating rather the amount of vinyl that I need, even with the calculations and like the preview. In the software, I am always going overboard. So you're just going to cut all of these out and then delicately place them onto your vinyl. All right, I have everything cut out. So you're going to take one of your little logo pieces and just center on top. This is no different than if you were using the craft cutter to do anything else with HTV. It's just you're more scared because you're now doing vinyl on top of vinyl. I mean, let's admit it, that's part of what keeps us from using vinyls, is being absolutely afraid of it. I'm not going to be someone who's super, super duper picky on the placement of these, because for me, I'm going to use these on the inside. If you were using them on the outside, I would say that's when to engage your OCD superpower and go for gold. Just not the vibe I'm going for today. So we're going to put these on here. And they are larger than I would normally do, just as, you know, for visibility's sake. This camera actually can't come any further down or it'll just crash into my head every time I need to do something on stream. So that's why we do this. And we're just going to place them all on there. Dun, da, 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 da. There we go. Now we're going to go over to the heat press and we're going to get that HTV suckered to these things. I'm going to let my heat press go ahead and heat up. We're going to do 300 Fahrenheit for 15 seconds. I probably am not going to do the full 15. So for the first press, I'm going to do one of them just to make sure I've got my settings right. It doesn't matter what your press says or how you dial it in. Always do a tester before you go and do the whole thing, or you're going to mess up and you'll have to redo all of it. So we're going to let this heat up and then I'm going to do a press. Now for the moment of truth. I'm going to go ahead and slide this out. And the sticky I'm using Sizer metallic. I probably should have gone with something a little more generic and easy to use. This stuff is a little feisty, but so it doesn't want to kind of stay down. So I'm going to put it down on the mat facing up, and then I'm going to cover this whole thing with a Teflon sheet. You should be doing this anyway, right? For the Teflon and make it safe. I'm going to slide it in there and I'm going to let it press. Boo, boo, boo. This is not scaring me at all. I'm freaking out a little bit. Oh, I'm like, please work, please work, please work. Mommy's got to make a YouTube tutorial. Okay, I'm going to lift it. I only did it about 10 seconds. I'm just always nervous about the vinyl, and as you should be. I mean, it's really easy to melt this stuff. Just gonna kind of pull that out of there, and the vinyl's looking fine. You just want to make sure the vinyl's good and, you know, it's not wonky. Also, it doesn't really have a texture to it, so you don't have to press it as long for that heat, the HTV to kind of stick to it. So I'm gonna let it go one more wee time. Just hit it for like 5 seconds. Again, this is at 300. And yeah, I can set the timer on this. I'm so old school. I'm just like, no, kill it now. Okay, and raise it. So I did 10 seconds and I let it cool a bit, and then I just did 5. So it's still got the total of 15, just not all squished at once. All right, I'm gonna pull that, let it kind of cool off. Whoo, whoo. All right, let's let it chill a bit and then I'm gonna peel it. All right, I'm not scared, you're scared. I'm gonna just take the edge here and start to peel it up. Oh my goodness, it did stick. Ha, it's stuck, yay! It's on there pretty good too. It's in there. I'm gonna pull it up here so you can see it. So there's my budget bag tag. Well, it's not so budget if you count the fact that I had to pay out the wazoo for a craft cutter, but ooh, shiny. All right, let's do the rest of them. So again, because I love to repeat things, it's important when you're doing instructional stuff. We're gonna put these in here. Whoop. Some of them kind of wiggled loose and got all lopsided. Let me get that right. I mean, what's the point if I do it wrong, right? Okay. Put the little blankie on top, Teflon blankie, insert, and press. I'm gonna let it do its 10-second press. Nope, it got to 10. See, I should have just set the timer. Okay, so that was the 10 seconds. Boop. My Teflon like stick to the top. And they're on there. They're kind of suction to it. Let it cool off just a little bit. And then we're gonna give it a glorious last press for 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Banzai! All right, that's it. Now we'll let these cool down and take them apart, and everything's gonna be awesome, right? Right? Okie dokie. Here we have the one that I did that was like my Hail Mary. Now we're just going to oh so gently peel off the rest. It's really like scary to do this, yeah? Do that. Oh my goodness. Now if you notice like an impression around where you know, the plastic was, if you want, you can just cut your plastic to fit if you want, or you can kind of hit it with a warm hairdryer. You know, a hairdryer not on freezing cold. Ah, static. How does it work? Oh no, I messed that one up. I should have paid a little more attention to that. It's okay. Mistakes happen. It's okay. It's a happy little bag tag. So anywho, here we go. We've got bag tags, except for this one. You go over there. Yeah, these are pretty cool. I'm gonna hold it up here. Let it do the focus thing. You can see how shiny it is. Ooh, shiny. Ah, fierce. Anyway, yeah, so like you could just sew these straight on to the bag, inside, outside, whatever side you want. For me personally, I will probably go around the edges with some edge coat just to make sure they look nice and clean, because you can see like the little bit of the underlining that comes naturally with the custom vinyl. Now, big thing about the heat press, like I said, do one test first. I would even say to go ahead and do a test just with your vinyl base for the tag itself before you go and do that, just to make sure. I have some vinyls where the heat press will just outright remove any of its glossiness or texture, and then I have other vinyls like this that do totally fine under the heat and the pressure of a heat press. So it's kind of hit or miss. So my settings might not be the same settings that you would use. So go ahead and do that test ahead of time and see what works best. Now, another way you can do this, but I just don't have the multi-tool or like the blade, the plug-in thing for the Cricut, or the foil, but you can, if you want, score foil into it instead of doing what I've done. So that was a suggestion that somebody had made on one of my other videos in the past. I just haven't tried it to confirm it. Boop, boop, ba-doop, ba-doop. All right. Hope that helped you. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Maybe you have an easier way of doing this that doesn't involve a bunch of cutting and cricketing and weeding for a fake hour. Thank you so much. Bye.